there is a connection with your brain and your hand that when your hand writes something, it gives a signal to your brain to retain that. Because, remember the last time, or it wasn't here, I was talking about how we are bombarded with a lot of information. Our brain finds it very difficult to filter. Our brains find it very, very difficult to filter between the good and the bad. So one thing we can do to increase our attention span is to write things down. Very crucial. Very crucial. Write things down. Everywhere you go is info. The church, the social media, everything wants to inform you about something. And one way to really increase your, capacity of your brain is to write things down. And I'm very lazy at writing things down, but I have to learn the hard way, you know. So I have a book, that I write my goals, and not always, my goals, and then I can go back to this book is as old as a couple of years. I know I had it just after uni, so I can remember writing my goals for law school. Remember writing my goals, my financial goals. I have my 2022 financial goals. I said I want to return to making 100K per month. That is 2022. That's 3 years ago. I said I wanted to make 100K per month. I wanted to save 50% of it. I had my spiritual goals. I had my academic goals. I said I want to read 2 hours a day draft because I was a law student in law school, so I wanted to do my drafting for 30 minutes. I had a social goal. I wanted to build incredible relationships, and I had a goal for Lagos. So goals are very, very crucial. So today we're going to be talking about vision and values. Because this is going to be rapid, I'm going to tell you practical things that I do that helps me get a little bit ahead in life. Very easy things that helps me, realign my goal. Because I said the other time, all you need to do is to be 5 to 10% better than the average person, and you are going to be in a better place. You're not going to be the best. You are going to be in a better place. The average person gives at least 1 to 3% of, their potentials. The average person doesn't do enough. Just doesn't do enough to get. Just does enough to get by. And if you want to be better, if you want to be in the category of people doing well, you'd have to give 5 to 10% of your potential to set you on a better scale. So I remember 2022 October, I had plans. I know I wrote these plans around 12:51 a.m. My first plan on my list is my spiritual goal. I said pray, very, very bad. I said I wanted to pray 20 minutes. That's 2022. I wanted to daily prayer with my family. I had financial goals. Remember, 2022 around uh, was it January? I'm not sure. January 22 of 2022. My goal was to make 100K per month. And in October of 2022, 24th of October, 12:51 a.m., my goal is now to make 350K per month. You can see how I can track it. From January it was just 100K, and now 2022 October I said I wanted to make 300K per month. That means my earning capacity has increased, and now I have goal to increase it even more. 350 per month. I want to save 70% of my income. I wanted to open a new bank account, and I told myself, do not invest in anything until at least January of the next year. Give my mom and family 40K per month. Pay myself 50K, and then keep the remaining in my savings. Save 70%. And I wanted to make 5 million naira that year. I had health goals, eat fruits, buy food. I had exercise goals that I didn't follow. I had relationship goals, you know. I had mindset goals to read 15 pages of each of the book I was reading daily. watch a documentary every week. I had habits to cut off. I want to be on calculated spending and all of those things. Why I'm sharing this, my book and some of the things I have in here with you, to give you practical tools and tell you that you just need to, set yourself on a path of success, and a lot of things are going to begin to open up for you. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you do not know me, my name is John Otache Emmanuel. First, I'm a lawyer. I finished ABU and all those things. Secondly, I am a sales and marketing. Now I can call myself an expert because, guys, I've done some incredible things that I'm even shocked myself. So, welcome to this our platform. Our mentorship program is going to be holistic mentorship. And when something is holistic, it is meant to change your life at every facet. So, every facet. I'm a Christian, so some of the times I'm going to use Bible stories, but this is not a religious platform because for some people want to Christians believe that the Bible is just a storybook. So let's just assume it is. So I'm going to be using some stories from the Bible just to hit home my point. But remember, this is not a religious platform. So today we're going to be talking about vision and values. And I wrote in my book that, if you do not have a clear vision for your life is a joke. You know, you are living a joke. Like if you don't have a vision for yourself. And what is vision? I don't like all these times when speakers come and say vision can be defined. No, I want to be very real with you. Vision for me is to have a foresight where you intend for your life to go. It's just what do you want to do with your life? We have very little time here on earth because I know that because I saw my father die. He died in our arms, so we saw him die, and that kind of reoriented my mind to tell me that I have very little time here on earth, and one day I'm gonna die. So if I'm gonna die, why not just make the best out of this life, enjoy it while I'm here, and then go meet my savior. That's what I believe in. So vision is having a pathway that you intend to see yourself in the nearest future. Where do you intend to see yourself? How do you want your life to be like? What kind of families do you want? Cars do you drive? All of this are encapsulated in your vision. What do you want? You need to sit down and ask yourself this question: what do I want? And this has to be you have to give yourself a very honest answer. And in vision, you need to be a dreamer. You need to be a dreamer. And we are born in a society that puts us in a box. We are born in a place where scarcity is all over, where you are told that you're proud and overconfident when you dream to be. Sometimes we just want to, when we're talking, what kind of a car do you want? So I just don't like it. Maybe a Camry will do, just want to play humble. But deep within you, that you want something bigger. For example, when you ask Shoma, what does she want to do, music career and all those things, that she's a nurse and all that, she's going to give you a very spiritual, religious answer and say, I just want to serve God and all those things, but I wanted to be dreamers. Like I said in our first session, that it doesn't matter where you're coming from. God has given you the ability to use your mind to determine your life. The Bible will say that out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. That James Allen wrote a book says, the Bible will say that as a man thinketh, and the Bible says, as a man thinketh, so he is. So if you have been put in a box, your upbringing, your scarcity was all over like me, you were taught to dream small. And your vision, you build your vision based on that mindset, then you're not going anywhere. And it's not a cost. You're only going to go as far as your mind. Nothing changes except your mind changes. I used to think that all of these things were just motivation. People wanted to impress us with good words and rhyming, and good vocabulary. But when I started to dig deeper on people who are doing incredible things, I saw that those people were people whose minds were explosive. They thought about the world as a canvas. And so they did with the world what they wanted to do with it. Guys. So, first of all, your mindset has to change. Think yourself out of the box. Stop being too humble unnecessarily and be a dreamer. That is where it starts with building an authentic vision. You know, Scrap everything else Just say everything you've written before. Say out your goals. Say out the goals your parents have given you. Because someone saying, my barrister, all of these things. I don't want to be a barrister. Probably, I want to be maybe a speaker or something. And someone gives me that, you're a barrister, or you're a savior, you're a musician, or you are a printer. But you deep within you, you know that you want to become something better. So you must take out everything else that people have said about you that it doesn't really represent what you intend to do with your life. Remember, it's your life, and you have the power to spend it the way you want to. So scrap out everything and now be a dreamer. So if you have to learn anything today, just write it and say, I am a dreamer. I will be a dreamer. Dream so big. Someone will say that if your dream is not big enough to scare you, then you're probably not dreaming. You're joking. So take out everything. I just want to dismantle some walls because we Africans, Nigerians, there's a lot of walls we need to kick down. There's a songwriter that says there's no walls we won't kick down. For us, for our own scope, the walls are just, blocking us from getting so much. It didn't take a lot to change my life. Like, I'm not where I want to be yet, but to take me to the next level, it didn't change enough. Guys, I had all I needed to take me to the next level, even financially. I've gone to school like all of you have, secondary, university. I've gone that, and I was still broke, and my self-esteem was on the floor and all those things. All I needed to do was to move from that state of scarcity to a place where I'm a dreamer. Remember, this is going to be very, very fast. So I said that if you do not have a clear vision for your life, you are a joke. Your life is a joke. Because your life is for most of us, we have probably 75 Christmas. So like, 100 if we are lucky. Let me even bust your bubble. The life expectancy in Africa is around 45 years old. That's the life expectancy. People die very well because of the condition in Africa. 45 years old is around life expectancy in Africa. But before you build your vision, before you design the set of values that you want to run by, these three things that I'm going to talk about are very, very important. Because your vision and your values are going to be determined by three of them. So guys, I remember while growing up, I used to tell people that I was so shy. I had very low self-esteem because one, I felt like I was too short, too small. Secondly, I felt like I was too dark. Thirdly, I had this scar on my face. If you look at me very closely, you'll see something around here and here, and on the side of my face. It was just dark. And I used to feel very, very insecure about that. And so that dampened my self-esteem. I was a stutterer too, so I had a very, very low self-esteem. So every vision that I created for myself was determined by the insecurities that I had. And I know for a lot of you have a lot of insecurities. You have insecurities, and some of them are how you look. Some of them are probably your background. Some of them are just a lot of things. A lot of Nigerians, a lot of young people have insecurities that they are dealing with. They might not say it out loud, but I'm telling you that you have an insecurity that you have to deal with. And now just be thinking about what you're insecure about, and please write it down. Write it and think, these are the things that I'm insecure about. Some of you are insecure about your height, your dentition, your eyes. Some people are bowed. Some people, insecure about how we speak. There are lots of things you can be insecure about. Some of them are even external. You were insecure about how your parents look. I used to have people who were shy or were, didn't want to introduce others to their parents because they feel like their parents aren't looking too good or, don't speak well. So just write some of the things that you're insecure about. One thing about life is that if you don't know the cause of your problem, it is impossible to move forward. You can get further in life when you diagnose yourself, know what's holding you back, deal with it, and then you move further. And that's why the clients that I serve, which are coaches, I serve people in the UK, the US, Canada, and one of the things that I see constantly in the American, you know, culture is that coaching is very important. Coaching and mentorship is something people pay thousands of dollars for. And why they do that is because you cannot get ahead of yourself. There are things you need to deal with. Very important. Some of you need to sit down with somebody who is a coach or a mentor or a pastor who is educated in helping people, with their mindset and all those things, and discuss. Some of you have childhood traumas. But because nobody has sat you down to diagnose that, you are still in the mess that you are because of those things. And until you deal with that, you cannot get further in life. I used to have mine, and I still am still dealing with a lot. I'm still getting mentorship and help too. But if you do not deal with this, nothing happens. I used to think that I did not deserve the best. So when they say, someone here is gonna have a car, I push it to my friend, and I push, someone here is gonna. I didn't feel that like I deserve enough. You know, I felt like because I came from scarcity and poverty, I just deserve a little, average. That's what I felt. I needed help to take out that mindset from my person. So guys, like I said, if you do not have a clear path, you do not have a clear vision, your life is a joke. Thank God you're here because you are going to redesign your vision and values based on what you hear today. You will hear a lot of things today. So I told you about my insecurities and all of those things. Uh, three things about your personality that you need to deal with in order to have a vision that takes you to the next level. And first, your self ideal. Please write this down. The first thing about your personality that you need to deal with in order to get to the next level of your life is one, your self ideal. Your self ideal is this is the part of your mind that compromise that includes your vision, your values, your mindset. It's a part of your mind that your ideal. Your values. We're going to talk about values. That is the part of your mind that has all of those things. Your self ideal, and your vision is your value is part of that. Your values. When I began to sell, and I saw that I could be a little bit of a cheat, still get ahead, get over and get ahead in life. Sometimes I thought that I wanted to compromise, and sometimes I compromised, while starting out, because you could lie about your results to somebody, and that's going to help them decide on whether they want to work with you. You could tell them that you've done hundreds of thousands of dollars when you haven't done it. So your self ideal is so important. Remember, I said this is the part of your mind that includes your vision, your values, your mindset, and whatnot. So it's very, very important to deal with your self ideal. Your self ideal has, it's the evolution of your character. This is how you are built. This is what helps you become a person of value, person of character. It helps you grow your trust threshold. For some of you here, very few people trust you because you've not lived consistency with truth, consistency of character most people don't trust you enough to handle things to you. And you don't even know that people don't trust you because most times the African society teaches you not to confront people. Nobody confronts you and tells you that you're not a trustworthy person. So this is some of the things you need to start dealing with. Some of you, your values are so in the gutters. And to be able to get ahead in life, you'd have to sit down and talk to yourself. We are in a very fast-paced life. It doesn't give you time to sit with yourself and be so truthful to yourself. Nobody can be truthful to you as you can be truthful to yourself. So you need to sit down and ask yourself where I am. Do people give me a lot of responsibility? Do people give me a lot of respect? Am I a respectable person among my peers? Do people take everything I say for jokes? Yes, some of you that every time you bring something, people just laugh because they just take you out. Just leave this one. He is a funny folk and all of those things. Nobody takes you for real. Nobody trusts you. Very few people actually trust you. Your character, you don't have values that you really hold on to. Some of you borrow money and you don't return it, or you miss out on the payment date. There's just a lot of things you need to sit down and analyze with your life. And that's one of the things I did, I started to see that there's some people that do not take me for real, don't take me seriously. And I started to rearrange my life. My trust threshold needed to increase. People need to trust me. It's something I intentionally work to do. If I collect money from somebody, I need to be able to pay them back the dates that I agreed to pay, or at least give them a heads up of why I'm not paying, and it should not just be an excuse. It should be something concrete. So your self-ideal is something you need to sit down and work on. Do people trust me? What are my values? Some people's values that they don't borrow money, they don't spend more than they earn, they don't lie. Some of us are liars. God, we've so normalized lying to a point where we just need to cover up, keep lying to cover up the truth. It looks so normal, and you can never get ahead in life if people cannot hold you by your word. I discovered that. And sometimes, I have people that I work for. I'm tempted to lie to them and say, why haven't you completed this task that we paid you for? I'm tempted to say that, oh, we don't have lights in Africa. I sometimes I'll just be lazy. So I come out and confront the whole situation and say, hey, sorry, I've just been, lazy, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna do it in a minute. And the person will say, okay, thank you for, coming out and be truthful. Please, next time don't try it again. And I say, oh yeah, I won't, and I do it. But if I lie and say, we've not had light for a while now, it's crazy in Nigeria, there's a riot, the person is gonna be like, oh, so sorry, sorry, all of these things are happening to you. Just let me know how I can help you. I feel good about myself because I just got myself out of a difficult situation. But what I just did was to put a dent on my self-ideal. I used to be a very, very good liar. But I didn't see it that way. All I just saw it as was, just using some of these words, lying, just to get out of a difficult situation, not to hurt someone else's feelings. But, guys, I needed to get out of it. I'm not all perfect, but I'm very conscious of what I say and not to lie. And every time I lie, because I'm a Christian who believes in God, the Holy Spirit jumps inside of me and says, no, you just lied here. And sometimes I try to correct it. Second thing that you need to deal with as part of your personality that's then going to open the doorway for you to build authentic vision is your self-image. Very crucial. Your self-image is your inner mirror. How you see yourself. This is something that I said that I'm going to discuss even more today, is because some of us do not see ourselves in a very good light. And it's not even your fault. Some of you grew up in a space where you've been called names by people, by your parents, by your friends, your peers, and people around. And some of you have accepted that truth as what you want to become. Some of you were abused while you were children, molested, and that has been the reason of how you now see yourself. That's the mirror of how you look into the mirror and you don't see anyone important. And I'm just being truthful, guys. Some of you don't even think that you have what it takes to go to the next level. Some of you see yourself, in a very bad light. And I'm not here to blame you. I'm just here to help you get out of those things. You know, it matters how you were treated while you're a child, but what you're doing here is a holistic approach to get you ahead in life. You do not deserve where you are. You deserve better. Some of you are so smart, but you cannot even, give that smartness to your book. You know that you are a smart person, but because of all those baggages that you have, you look like you're not even a smart person, and it's a problem. Self-image is so important because how else can you develop a very good vision that takes you to the next level if you do not see yourself in a very good light? And it doesn't just, improve by talks, One thing you must write today, you must start doing what is called affirmations. Talk to yourself. What made you like this was because of what people say. And words are powerful. The Bible will say that the tongue has the power of life and death. And what you need to do to your situation is to speak to yourself. Look into the mirror and speak to yourself. I used to have in my walls some quotes about myself that I formulated. I'm smart. I am a visionary. I'm a leader. Talk to yourself. You heard negative things about yourself. You heard negative things about your space, your school, your pastor, your church. And those things have stuck with you because words are powerful. The mind is molded by words. You are who you are where you are by the things you heard and by the things you held on to. Because, it's like music, some of you don't listen to secular music because you're Christians and all of this. But if you're in a car, I've caught some of my pastor friends, singing secular music. And you just, what's happening to me? They listen to it in the barber shop, or in the car while they were traveling, and all of a sudden they intuitively, subconsciously sing that song. And that is it with your life. Things you're listening to, the things you've been told about yourself, the negative things you've been told about yourself are going to shape you. So that is why who you listen to is so important because that's going to shape your life. The quality of your life is determined by what you hear, even better than what you see. Your mind receives a lot of things, even though what you see is also important too. That's why you must discipline yourself on what you see and what you hear, and even what you say. Some of you have held on to everything, the negative things you've been told and you've been, designed to be, and that is what you now profess. I've disciplined myself so well. Sometimes I catch myself doing it wrongly, and I talk so negative about Nigeria. I said, Nigeria is never going to be good, and all of those things. What I'm doing to myself is that I am shaping my future by all of those negative things. I am a Nigerian. I am part of Nigeria. So everything I say is putting out a vision-like statement what my future would look like. So that's why, you go to offices and you see people's mission statement, vision statements, what they intend to achieve and how they intend to achieve it. And so every negative thing you say about Nigeria, you're only writing a vision about yourself. So important. And the country is tough. I know all of these things, but nowhere is actually easy, Although some places are better than Nigeria, but Nigeria can be going through what's going through, and your life can still be good. For people like you, for some people here, $1,000, that's like 1.6 million naira, is enough to, give you an average life, So all of this stress from Nigeria might not really bother you if you're, earning well, doing well, you're in a secure area, God is helping you, no kidnap and all those things. You can still be good. You must guard your words, guard your mind. The Bible would say that, guide your mind with all diligence because out of it flows the issues of life. And how can you guide your mind? Your mind here is your self ideal. Remember, I talked about how your self ideal includes your vision, your mission, your values, and you are molded by what you hear and see and by the people around you. So, guiding your heart means that what you listen and the kinds of narratives that people say about you are important.